Just a silly little alien. The Wachowskis heard the explosion mere seconds before they ran around the corner onto Main Street. The first thing they saw was Sonic, lying motionless in the middle of the road. The second was Robotnik's hover jet, slowly emerging from a portal ring. The scientist laughed maniacally while he opened the dome of his jet and shoved his goggles up to his forehead.
"You are an astonishing little creature,"
he said. Tom saw that Sonic twitched his ears and opened his eyes, and relief washed over him. Thank goodness the little guy was alive. He seemed to be in really bad shape, though.
"He's going to be okay, just like last time. He's going to be okay."
The worried sheriff reassured himself under his breath. Before he got the chance to tend to the injured hedgehog, he noticed the little leather bag in the gutter. He picked it up and turned to his wife.
"Lady, check on Sonic and take care of that net job."
He moved out of sight and took a ring from the bag. Maddie sprinted over to the furry alien and knelt down next to him. The blue speedster was hurt pretty severely. That much was obvious. She tenderly rolled him over and lifted him into her lap. His eyes were unfocused and hazy, but he grabbed hold of her shirt.
"I'm Pretzel Lady."
It's all right. We're here now. I got you.
Sonic's pulse was weak and unsteady, his breathing shallow. It was likely that he had internal injuries. This was very bad. She had to get him into her practice ASAP. She could only hope her husband knew what he was doing, and that he would do it fast. Robotnik was still busy pressing buttons and monologuing about the experiments he couldn't wait to conduct on the hedgehog.
"It will be fun to take you back to the lab for a litany of invasive exploratory procedures." Any last words?
"Gack? I like that word."
Sonic's mumble was barely audible. He moaned softly and went limp, his little hands letting go of Maddie's shirt.
Oh, no, don't do that. Come on, stay with me here.
The veterinarian was desperate. The creature in her arms was dying, and she couldn't do anything. Just sit here in the crosshairs of a madman who wouldn't hesitate to shoot them both if she tried to run. She looked over to the crazy guy in his floating plane. He was still rambling, oblivious to the golden ring that opened up behind him. Tom jumped through the portal onto the back of the hover jet. He couldn't believe that had really worked. The government scientist pushed a button on his console and took aim at Sonic and Maddie.
I don't have to tell you how many scientific breakthroughs have been made possible by animal testing. You're being very selfish.
Careful not to make a sound, the sheriff climbed to the front. He had to act quickly.
"Going my way."
He asked and punched the doctor in the face when he turned his head.
What the bull?
Robotnik lost control of the jet, giving Tom the opportunity to jump into the cockpit. Unfortunately, the evil genius was fast to recover from the blow and managed to kick Tom in the face in return. They wrestled with each other for a minute, both able to land a few punches.
Who do you think you are?
"I'm the Donut Lord of..."
Robotnik had elbowed the other man in the gut. He took control of the jet again and made its way to the side. Tom lost his balance and tumbled down to the pavement. He groaned in pain. The jet hung threateningly above him.
Why would you throw your little way for this thing? That's why I don't have friends.
Tom did pay attention to the doctors complaining about weddings out of town. Boy, that guy had issues. And rather tried to get back onto his feet instead. His eyes flashed over to Maddie. She sat a few meters away, looking very worried. Sonic lying in her arms with his eyes closed and way too still. Robotnik's next words made the cop look up again, though.
Where were we as you were about to die?
A gunshot rang and a bullet ricocheted off the jet.
"Hey, that's our sheriff you are messing with."
Wade was standing on the sidewalk, pointing his gun at Robotnik. He was accompanied by Carl, angrily swinging a chainsaw.
And our Blue Devil, who as everyone can see is a very real creature, not at all invented by me.
The old man yelled. Tom's face lit up. With a little backup they might even have a chance. If Wade could keep Robotnik in check long enough, they would be able to get away. Green Hills Police Department for the win you, but Maddie's panicked outcry made his heart sink.
Tom,
He limped over to her as fast as he could and dropped to his knees when he saw the hopeless look on her face. She was crying.
Oh, Maddie, please no.
She didn't answer and only shook her head. The little hedgehog wasn't breathing. The rapid pulse under her fingers had stopped. When the horrible truth hit him, Tom clenched his eyes shut for a second, fighting back his emotions.
Give him to me.
He reached out to take Sonic from Maddie's embrace. He cradled the alien's small body to his chest. Sonic's head lolled on his shoulder. The blue hedgehog looked terrible. His face was covered in bruises, his fur dirty, stringy and singed. Robotnik obviously had put him through a lot. And for what? For science? This wasn't fair. He had just been a lonely child, desperately wishing to belong somewhere, but still willing to give up what little bit of home he had found on Earth to keep this planet and its people safe. A child, the rising feeling of guilt made Tom's throat tighten. They were the adults. They should have been the ones to protect this boy, not the other way round. He took a shaky breath, managing to suppress a sob, but he couldn't stop the tears from filling his eyes.
I'm sorry, so sorry.
He whispered at least Sonic had made it back to Green Hills and had spent his last moments in the warm arms of a friend, not face down on the cold, wet asphalt, alone once more. Robotnik watched impatiently from his cockpit. He didn't dare to reach for the controls as long as that sorry excuse of a policeman aimed the gun at him. He wasn't willing to risk being shot in the head. The scientist couldn't keep his mouth shut, though. This whole thing was just too pathetic.
I don't mean to be indelicate here, but someone should go get some ice to keep the body fresh.
Those unpityingly spoken words made Tom's blood boil. Never. He had been able to save him, but he would never let this lunatic get his hands on Sonic to do whatever kind of disgusting experiments with him. He wouldn't let the little hedgehog be taken away from Green Hills again. He wouldn't, and if it was the last thing he did.
Shut up, freak, you can't have him.
The evil genius couldn't believe it. These people were impossible. What was wrong with them?
It was just a silly little alien.
He answered.
It didn't belong here.
Tom struggled to his feet. Maddie got up with him, and was quick to support her husband when he stumbled, trembling with rage. Still holding Sonic tightly, Tom took a few steps towards the hover jet. He screamed at the crazy scientist, his voice dripping with despise.
This little alien, you're more of the human than you ever will.
The doctor only rolled his eyes.
His name was Sonic. This was his home.
Tom's voice broke, but he carried on.
And he was my friend.
A surprised gasp from Maddie and the sound of electric crackling pulled Tom's look away from Robotnik and down to the boy in his arms. He was met by a pair of wide-open, radiant blue eyes.
Well, what the heck?
Sparks licked over his arms. The street lamps guttered. Sonic's fur was charged with electricity, just like when he had been clinging to the hood of the car on the way to San Francisco. The erratic sparks grew stronger. They reached up to the man's shoulders now, and they hurt. Tom quickly set the hedgehog down and pulled Maddie a few steps away.
Everybody stand back now.
Most of the lights went out when white-blue lightning zapped down from the sky. It crawled over the ground like electric snakes. The Wachowskis watched how Sonic slowly got up, his ghoul shining brightly. The lightning got even stronger, electric charges sizzling and licking everywhere. But then it ebbed down, and only kept dancing over the alien's fur and glowing quills. Sonic looked up at the two very happy humans in front of him, his face determined and unflinching. Tom couldn't remember the last time he had felt so relieved in his life. He smiled and gestured over to the speechless Dr. Robotnik.
He's all yours.